So let's go ahead and do some examples of how to fill out the form and take a look at some of these sections. So I just added the lighting section, which added a few more pages, and the first couple of pages are a list of incentives, the amounts that you get. So we can do a quick example in here. A really common retrofit is to replace T12 lamps with T8s. They're higher efficiency. So if we were putting in 100 T8 lamps in place of T12s, we just type that in there, and the incentive automatically calculates, and it tells us that at the rate of $13 per lamp, we're going to get $1,300 for 100 lamps. And if we needed more space, there's little checkboxes at the bottom of most of these pages that say, please replicate this sheet, I need more space. The second page has the incentives, but this is for new fixtures. So if you were installing a new lighting fixture in a place where you didn't have lighting before, you would use this second page. Whereas the first page, if you were replacing an old fixture with a new fixture, you would use the first page. Then another thing that you'll need to do if you're doing a lighting project is a lighting survey. And they have a couple of example rows on here. So here's the same sort of a project, replacing a 4-foot 34 watt T12 fixture with a T8 fixture. So they had 2 fixtures and 2 lamps per fixture. They put in the existing wattage, and it automatically calculates the total existing wattage. And then they put in that they were installing 4 T8s. And then way over on the right is occupancy sensors, if you were adding occupancy sensors to a fixture or just to a room in general. And then again, there's a light survey for new light fixtures. And then finally, there's some lighting specifications. And as you can see here, they're not very long. It's about a paragraph for each type of lighting retrofit. Not too complicated. But you will note that a lot of them have a website, and you need to make sure that the lighting fixture that you're planning to install is on the qualified product list for that particular type of retrofit. So that's lighting, and we'll do a quick example in each section. So HVAC projects, we're hoping you're doing a lot of those this year because there's a lot of funding for natural gas savings. And it's fairly simple. There's a section for electric equipment and then a section for natural gas equipment. And each one has a code and then a size category and the qualifying efficiency. So if we were going to install a natural gas boiler at 94% efficiency, we would just type in some information down here at the bottom. Natural gas boiler, and let's put in GH5 for the code. Then we put the model number here. Our efficiency is 94%. And let's say that we have a 600 MBH or kBTUH boiler, and we just have one. So we type all those in, and we're going to get $8,400 for a 600 MBH, 94% efficient boiler. And if you have any questions, you can let us know. We can help you with that part. And then the second page has a HVAC tune-up to reduce reheat, which is just on a square footage basis for your building. And then there's a section for ground source heat pumps and specifications. Alright, so the equipment section. This one has also a few example rows, and it's maybe a little bit more involved, but still fairly simple. So there's a set of codes up at the top associated with whether it's on a variable speed drive for an HVAC chiller or an HVAC fan or pump. So you put that in the code column. And the example here is a supply fan. And then there's a series of codes moving here to the right, 3 different codes from tables 1, 2, and 3, based on the installation type, the type of control that you had before the variable speed drive, and the fan type. So you would just look up some information about your particular piece of equipment and choose one of these codes. And then the estimated annual operating hours of the piece of equipment, the motor horsepower, and then the quantity, and it will calculate the incentive for you. And there's almost an identical page for non-HVAC variable speed drives. Again, with the set of codes at the bottom. In this section, you'll also find the natural gas water heater and some low flow fixtures and an air compressor with an integrated variable speed drive. And again, there are specifications following that. Kitchen equipment is one of my favorite sections because it's really straightforward. A lot of these are based on an area that you're installing, like freezer area or something, or just on a per unit basis. So if we were installing a combination oven, we just have one. We just put it in, and it tells us we're having $1,250 as our incentive. And then there's also demand control ventilation for kitchen exhaust hoods in this section. And high efficiency ice makers and steam cookers. Now let's run through the custom application real quickly. It's a little bit different. You have to have more of a description of what you're actually doing. And with any of these projects, you do have to attach some specifications for the equipment that you're installing. But in the custom application, you put in a project description, you describe the existing equipment and the proposed equipment, a calculation method, and then some information about the cost of the measure and how much it's going to save. And this section will still automatically calculate your incentive, which is 12 cents per kilowatt hour that you save and $3 per therm that you save. And then the list of documentation is a little bit more involved, so if you're doing a custom project, please take a look at this sheet pretty carefully. Okay, so I also wanted to show you the boiler tune-up application. It's fairly similar, although it's a Word document instead of a fillable PDF. Again, some introductory information at the beginning. The incentive awards are found on page 7. Boiler tune-ups, you get 50 cents per kBTUH, up to $1,500 per boiler. And pipe insulation is based on the size of the pipe and the length of the insulation that you install. And then steam trap incentives are per steam trap, depending on pressure. You can also get incentives for boiler reset controls and a parallel positioning control system. The program contact information is a little bit different. The Energy Resources Center at the University of Illinois at Chicago manages this program, so you can find their contact information on page 12. And then there's a sheet that tells you if you might need a pre-approval application. Usually you don't need that with a boiler tune-up, but you might. There's a handy checklist here. I don't think you can check these boxes, but if you printed it out, you can use it. And then it's similar contact information, building and facility information, your authorized agent, signature. There's a special thing with the boiler tune-up program. You can get an instant discount if you and your contractor sign the form. So that means that the contractor could just do the work and give you a reduced price, and then DCEO would pay them the incentive. That's only available with the boiler tune-up. And then the actual application starts on page 20, and you just complete some basic information about the boiler, and your contractor who does the tune-up should be able to fill out all of the information about pre-service and post-service conditions. And there's a checklist for them of what they need to do. Same thing for steam traps. Pipe insulation. And boiler reset controls and parallel positioning systems. Okay. And I also wanted to pull up the HINGE application. I know we have some folks on the webinar today who might be able to apply for the HINGE bonus, and it basically looks exactly like a custom application. You have the same general information, and then the form is almost identical to the custom worksheet. So it's not really any more involved, but the funding levels are a lot higher if you can come up with a project that's going to save over 50,000 therms or over 100,000 therms.